how do you win a Democratic primary right now where you have a progressive base that really is quote unquote angry and wants Democrats to fight harder? They say, how do you win this primary, but not so far alienated to the left that you can't win a general?
Well, one, I think I bring, experienced executive leadership, to this race. And we also have to understand that, they're always trying to put labels, but we do need a fighter. But it's not just about fighting against the policies that we see the Trump administration and the fact that Wisconsin Republicans, they're literally carrying the president's water versus carrying the concerns of the people to the floor. And so the way that we win this race is we're going to talk to everybody. I think that primaries are great for our democracy. It gives voters the opportunity to see the candidates. But whoever that Democratic nominee is, they're going to become that much more better because they went through this primary process.
It's a brand new entry into the governor's race here in the state on the Democratic side. Was not necessarily a surprise, nor was it unexpected if you followed what he said over the last few weeks. But David Crowley, Milwaukee County Executive, entered the race yesterday and joins us live from the great city of Milwaukee. County Executive Crowley, thank you so very much for being here on what has turned out to be a very difficult day news-wise.
Well, first and foremost, I just want to say thank you for having me. And before we really get started, I think we have to acknowledge, my thoughts and prayers are not only with, what happened in Denver, but also with Charlie Kirk. And so, there's no reason why we have this level of hate or level of violence in our country. But we have to push back against the level of political violence that we have seen increase across this country. We may have our differences, but we have to agree to disagree. We have to focus on how we can move forward together because this is our state, this is our country, and we have to live in it and share it with one another. So my thoughts and prayers with everyone who has been affected and inflicted violence upon them.
Appreciate those thoughts on the breaking news today, County Executive Crowley. Let's turn a page just for a moment here because that's why you're here. I appreciate you taking time to come on our program. And I know you're on with our colleague, Pat Kreitlow, on Mornings with Pat Kreitlow earlier this morning. As we say on this show, it's your first time here. So on our show, we appreciate that. As we like to say, tell us a little bit about yourself, where you grew up and how you ended up into the public service sector.
Absolutely. And, I was born and raised here in the city of Milwaukee, lifelong Wisconsinite, went to public schools my entire life and had great parents, but they both, struggled with mental health or struggled with drug addiction. And when I was a junior in high school, I had went through so much. We were evicted 3 times before I graduated high school. There was a lot of housing instability, but it was an organization that literally saved my life called Urban Underground, youth organization that introduced me to community organizing and working with nonprofits and grassroots organizations on the ground. It translated to getting involved in politics. So in 2010, I decided to go work for Russ Feingold, traveling all across this state, helping to get him reelected. Then I had the opportunity to work for a county board supervisor, Nakia Dodd, who went on to be a state senator, worked for a year and a half as a legislative aide, 4 years as the political director in her state Senate office. And then I got bit by that bug to actually run for office myself. And so in 2016, I was elected to represent the 17th Assembly District. I was also elected to be the chair of our Milwaukee delegation as well as chair of our Black Legislative Caucus. And in 2019, I leaped before I looked and decided to get into this county exec's race. And I have been serving as the county executive, sworn in May 4th, 2020, and was reelected with 85% of the vote in 2024.
I find it interesting and fascinating as a person who is a kind of a political nut. You're Milwaukee's first Black county executive and the youngest person to hold office. You're all of 39 right now, but you're a rising political star in this state. And I think at a time when we have a lot of talk nationally and even at the state level about elder statespeople, shall we say, you bring a unique generational shift in a perspective.
I do. And I appreciate you looking at me as a rising political star in this state. And it's one of the reasons why I got involved in wanting to run for governor. We've been able to tackle many different issues across Milwaukee County, but what's been important is how we've created more partnerships. And we have to do that. If we want to move our community forward, if we want to move this state forward, it's about stepping outside our geographical comfort zone, being able to agree to disagree, but more importantly, just learning about one another. One of my favorite quotes is, "No one cares what you know until they know how much you care." And being from an urban area, I've been introduced to rural areas as a kid. My father taking me to lacrosse and taking me all over the state, whether we're going fishing or going duck hunting. And so I have familiarity with rural communities, but this is a great opportunity to enter this race to continue to move our state forward.
So I come from Southwest Wisconsin. Lived in Madison the better part of 20 plus years, but grew up out in Southwest Wisconsin. As my granddad might say to you, what do you say as you go around Wisconsin, County Executive David Crowley, and they look at you and say, "So why do you want the job?"
Which is a great question. One, I think it's important to acknowledge that Governor Evers, he has been a great leader. He has led with a steady, calm strength here in the state of Wisconsin, leading us through the pandemic, helping to protect our democracy and protect, quite frankly, our working families from a lot of harm. I spent 7 years in the state capitol, so I know how Madison works. And I've also gotten things done with a Republican controlled legislature. And for the past 5 years, I've been leading the largest county in the state of Wisconsin, representing close to 1 million people, which is a sixth of our entire state's population, but also managing one of the largest budgets in the state with a $1.4 billion budget. And so since 2020, I've not only led our community through the pandemic, but we've tackled some of the toughest issues throughout the county: public health, public safety, fiscal recovery. We've invested in small businesses all across Milwaukee County. We've created more affordable housing options. We've made government more accessible. We've cut our carbon emissions in half, all while being able to deliver the largest property tax cut in Milwaukee County's history. And so I know that I am the only candidate with not only legislative experience, but I have experience actually running a government. So on day one, I'll be ready to hit the ground hard and hit the ground running. But I truly believe that the stakes are, quite frankly, they're too high, and we don't have any time to waste as Democrats.
We're talking to Milwaukee County Executive David Crowley, who is the latest entry on the Democratic side in the race for Wisconsin governor. 90-second answers if you can in 1 minute, because I want to make sure we get a couple of things in here. By run against the clock. The first one, as you travel around the state, what are the top two, no more than three issues that are on Wisconsin voters' minds in this race for governor?
Well, it's about tackling this affordability crisis that so many folks are going through. People are getting less even if they're making more, and we need to provide them with some type of relief. And we have to acknowledge there's only so much that we can do with this economic chaos that's being inflicted on families under the Trump administration, but it doesn't mean that we can't help families move forward. I know what it's like to struggle, what it's like not to be able to pay your bills or put food on the table. And what we need to be focusing on is, how do we create family sustaining jobs, good jobs? How do we fully fund our public schools to make sure our young people, our kids, are ready for the jobs of today and tomorrow, and just making things that much more affordable, whether we're talking about healthcare. But I'm looking forward to going across this state, learning about the different issues, because there isn't a one size fits all to the solutions that affect every community in this state. And so I want to make sure that as we travel, those who have been impacted, that they are closest to the solutions that can fit their community. We need to right size these solutions for every community.
Know people that know you. I've watched you before. You're not someone who's afraid to tackle tough issues or tough questions. I'm just going to put it out there. You're a person who happens to be black. I'm a person who happens to be gay. There are people in this race who happen to be women. I know my former party that I left in 2011 very well, and I know that they take those things that can be dividers against each other and manipulate that to win elections. We saw it last time against former Lieutenant Governor Mandela Barnes, where they darkened the pigment of his skin, exaggerated things, made up lies to beat him. Do you have a plan for politically inoculating yourself against those types of attacks? And if so, are you willing to share any of them with us?
Well, we are definitely going to be, knocking down any of these attacks. But see, that's what the Republicans do. They want to distract and divide people, because this is the only way that they can stay in power, because they're not bringing any substance to the table. They will talk about me being from Milwaukee, me being black, but that's not putting food on people's table. That's not making sure that they can afford their child care. And the issues that I've been working on here in Milwaukee, these aren't Democratic issues. These aren't Milwaukee issues. These are Wisconsin issues. And so I'm going to go across the entire state and look and let everybody know that I'm looking to be the governor for all of us. We can't allow these divisions to stop our entire state from moving forward. And so what we're going to focus on is the things that matter. We're going to focus on affordability. We're going to focus on housing. And I know that we're going to be able to get people in part of this campaign, not because of what we've done, but what I know we can do together. And so whether you're a Democrat, an independent, or Republican, I want folks to know that there's a place in this campaign for you.
Earlier today, Milwaukee Mayor Cavalier Johnson endorsed you. There was some thought that you may both enter this race. His endorsement has to be huge for your campaign. There are two counties in a Democratic primary that could really, it comes down to three places, right? It's Milwaukee County, Dane County, and everybody else in a Democratic primary. It has to be a big feather in your campaign early on to get the mayor's endorsement.
It is. I truly appreciate the mayor's belief and inspiration in me for running for this seat. And I think it's no secret that I represent the largest Democratic community in the entire state of Wisconsin, which actually makes me uniquely positioned to bring more Democratic votes out of Milwaukee County. And we're not going to leave no stone unturned. So we're going to continue to travel across this state, and there are going to be more endorsements coming out tonight. And so just wait and see.
We'll stay tuned for that. Let me ask you quickly, ask to other people as well. How do you win a Democratic primary right now where you have a progressive base that really is quote unquote angry and wants Democrats to fight harder? They say, how do you win this primary, but not so far alienated to the left that you can't win a general?
Well, one, I think I bring, experienced executive leadership, to this race. And we also have to understand that, they're always trying to put labels, but we do need a fighter. But it's not just about fighting against the policies that we see the Trump administration and the fact that Wisconsin Republicans, they're literally carrying the president's water versus carrying the concerns of the people to the floor. And so the way that we win this race is we're going to talk to everybody. I think that primaries are great for our democracy. It gives voters the opportunity to see the candidates. But whoever that Democratic nominee is, they're going to become that much more better because they went through this primary process. And so we're going to talk about what we've done for Milwaukee County. We're going to cut through all the distractions and divisions and talk about how we need to build a broader table. If we're going to win this race, right, we got to build a coalition, which means we got to unify our base, energize the people on the ground, bring new voices to the table, and figure out ways to bring independence back. And I know that we're going to be able to speak to all of those different categories of people.
Milwaukee County Executive David Crowley, thank you very much for being here. Safe travels around the state of Wisconsin on your gubernatorial run. You have an open mic on this show anytime. We'd love to have you back as the campaign continues.
Well, thank you so much for this opportunity. And I know I'll be back, Ty. I appreciate your work.
We appreciate you very much. David Crowley, Milwaukee County Executive, latest candidate for governor of the state of Wisconsin.